Hey guys, I want to make a prediction for the 2024 presidential election between incumbent President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump. As of right now, these two candidates are the frontrunners for their party's nominations, and if they were to run, they would be shoo-ins for those nominations. If you look at the Republican Party nomination right now, Donald Trump has a 30% chance of winning that nomination. However, that does include the fact that Donald Trump does run in the nomination process. He does have to run in a primary. He is no longer the sitting president, so he is not going to be basically automatically the 2024 GOP nominee. But Donald Trump definitely 30% share as of right now, higher than Ron DeSantis, and he's been leading for quite a while at this point. But Donald Trump, if he does run, he has, basically a 99% chance of winning. I mean, many of these candidates are not even going to consider running. Not even Nikki Haley is going to run if Donald Trump does run in 2024 because nobody wants to get in his way. They all want, the party after Donald Trump, and running against Donald Trump is not going to help them achieve that. For the Democratic nomination, the sitting president Joe Biden, if he does run, of course, he will automatically gain the nomination of the Democratic Party. Not technically automatically, but it will basically be automatic. He's not going to face any strong challengers. They're not going to try to weaken their incumbent president. And Joe Biden, the chances why the reason why his chances are so low compared to, let's say, Barack Obama's in 2012 was because Joe Biden is the oldest president in American history, and he definitely, his age definitely plays the biggest factor in terms of determining whether or not he should run for re-election. As you can see, he does lead over Kamala Harris right now. You saw that spike after, his first press conference. He said that he would run for re-election, or that was his expectation at that point in time. But still, we have 4 years to go, and his health and stuff like that to do with his age definitely will be one of the largest factors in determining whether or not Joe Biden runs for re-election. However, he is already the oldest president, so it would not be crazy for Joe Biden to still run for re-election in 2024, although it may currently seem a little bit unlikely. It definitely could happen. He is still the incumbent president. So I'm going to start off by filling in the solid states on this map, first for Joe Biden and then for Donald Trump. Definitely, there would be more solid states for Joe Biden because the Democratic Party, he has been able to perform very, very strong in many of these very Democratic states, especially in 2020 when he won basically almost the entirety of the upper Northeast with solid margins, as well as that I will be giving him the state of Colorado and its 10 electoral votes. The state here, of course, in 2020 was plus 13.5 for Joe Biden. 2024, I think definitely he can improve off of that margin. And for my margin solid is anything over 15%. Likely is between 7 to 15, lean 2 to 15, and then tilt is anything less than 2%. Now, for the margins for Donald Trump, definitely there will be a little bit lesser of the amount of states that are solid for the former president. I think that states like Kansas and Missouri, the margins in those states will go under 15%. They did go under 15% in the state of Kansas. As you saw, Kansas only went to Donald Trump by 14.7%. Missouri was a margin of 15.4%, and Minnesota was a margin of 16.4%. So these three states definitely, they are definitely, they were barely solid for Donald Trump. One of them wasn't even solid for Trump in 2016 or 2020. If you go back to 2016, of course, they were all much more solid for Donald Trump, and I do not expect him to do better in 2020 against the incumbent president, now Joe Biden. As an incumbent, you have an advantage. So Trump did come into the 2020 election with an advantage over Joe Biden, but Joe Biden was able to win in that battle. In 2024, as the incumbent, I think Joe Biden will definitely have the advantage and do a little bit better in all three of these states here. So this would give Donald Trump 81 electoral votes from his solid states to Joe Biden with 191. Now, before we move on, I do want to take a look at the approval rating of Joe Biden because that is what I'm basing this prediction off of. If you look at the approval rating of Joe Biden, it has essentially stayed the same throughout his first, I believe, 4 or 5 months at this point. If you look at his approval, it was 53.0 at the beginning. It is 53.0 right now. His approval rating has not changed since he took office. If you look at his disapproval, basically since early March, it's been 40 to 41%. It was lower at the very beginning because there were more undecided voters. However, as of right now, it has essentially stayed the same over the last couple of months. So definitely a very, very stagnant approval rating. However, compared to former presidents, you'll see it is a very, very stagnant approval rating. Definitely very, very less change compared to presidents in the past. However, that's just how polarized politics is at this point, and it's not too surprising that Joe Biden's approval is much more stagnant than presidents in the past. But compared to Donald Trump, at the beginning, yes, it was quite stagnant in all honesty. However, after it settled, in early 2018, Trump's approval rating essentially stayed the same for the next 2 or so years until, of course, 2020 COVID-19, just everything that happened, big fluctuations in his approval. However, at the very beginning, definitely it was pretty stagnant. It was pretty bad at the very beginning, but over the middle of his term, the middle 2 years, it was definitely very, very stagnant approval. So Donald Trump, his approval was much, much worse. He was never approved of except for the very, very beginning of his term, and that wasn't even by 50% of the country. So definitely a pretty sad approval rating for Donald Trump. If you look at Biden's approval on RCP, it is a little bit lower here, but you can take a look at his approval on certain aspects. So his approval on the economy right now, +10, I think that's definitely very strong. This was the only, issue where most of the country thought that Donald Trump was stronger in compared to Joe Biden, but I think this definitely does prove many people to be wrong. His approval on immigration definitely is pretty bad, -10.3, as a result of what's happening at the border. On foreign policy, +8.6. I think that is a little bit surprising, but definitely I think that it's still a pretty strong approval for Joe Biden. His approval on foreign policy. On coronavirus, this is really where Joe Biden does very, very well in. As you can see, his coronavirus handling approval right now is at 32.7% in the positive. 64% of Americans, that's almost 2 in 3 Americans, approve of Joe Biden's handling of COVID-19 right now. So definitely a very strong approval, and I'm going to be basing this prediction off of the fact that he does retain those kind of numbers in 2024. I'll do one where he's a little bit less popular in the future. I'm going to continue with this with the likely states now for Donald Trump first. So Montana, Kansas, Missouri, Indiana, South Carolina, as well as Alaska, and of course the 1st District of Maine, or not the 1st District, but the 1st District of Nebraska and the 2nd District of Maine, giving Donald Trump 126 electoral votes. So in states of Alaska, it was +10 for Trump in 2020. South Carolina +11.7. I think those margins will go down. Those states are generally shifting to the left in general, and I don't think Donald Trump can do better in those states come 2024. So this does put Trump at 126. Indiana was solid for Donald Trump. It was also solid for him in 2016. Trump won Indiana by almost 20% in 2016. However, he was running with Mike Pence, the former governor of the state, and that did, in the end, did help Donald Trump in Indiana. If you look at, just 2008, this state was an Obama state by 1%. 2012, it went to Romney by 10%. 2016, with Mike Pence on the ticket, Trump won Indiana by 19.2%. So it did go down in 2020, and I expect it to go down a little bit in 2024, especially when Mike Pence will no longer be on the ticket for the Republican Party. So this gives Donald Trump 126 electoral votes and Joe Biden's approval. If you do look at his popularity, he is definitely more popular now than he was when he ran for president in 2020. So I think he will definitely get a boost in many of these states, and combining it with the fact that he's the incumbent, I think that'll definitely help the Democratic Party. So this gives Joe Biden 191 electoral votes from the solid states, and to add on some of his likely states, I'm going to start off with the state of New Mexico. I don't think it's surprising at all. He won the state in 2020 by 10.8%. In 2016, Hillary won the state by 8.2%, so not too much of an increase, especially compared to Colorado, which went from 5% to 13%, but I do think that he would improve off his margin in New Mexico. Generally, New Mexico has been bluer than Colorado. However, this really only changed in 2020 when Joe Biden won Colorado by 3 points higher. So in 2024, I do have New Mexico remaining as a likely state, but a definite victory for Joe Biden. On top of that, I have the state of Minnesota. I believe that's going to be a likely state for Joe Biden as well. This state has not voted for a Republican in the last, I believe, 5 decades. Even in 1980, it went for Jimmy Carter, 3.9%. 1984, when Ronald Reagan won every single state except for Minnesota, so that's why Minnesota has the longest Democratic voting streak. It's not a solid blue state, and it hasn't really been for a while now, but still, it does have a pretty long history of voting for the Democratic Party. In 2016, Hillary Clinton almost lost it. She only won it by 1.5%, but 2020, Joe Biden pulled it back, won it by 7.1. I do see that margin going up in 2024. New Hampshire, you saw basically the same thing, not in terms of, its history of voting for the Democratic Party, but in terms of the fact that Hillary Clinton almost lost the state in 2020. If you go, or 2016, if you go to 2012, Obama won it by 5.6%. 2008, Obama won New Hampshire by 9.6%. However, in 2016, Hillary Clinton won the state by 0.37%. She was 2,000 votes away from losing New Hampshire in 2016. Now, 2020, of course, Joe Biden won the state back, won it by 7.4%, larger than Obama's 2012 margin, so definitely a very strong victory there for Joe Biden. Maine's at large was 9.1 for Biden, so I have Maine at large as likely for Joe Biden there as well as the 2nd District of Nebraska, which in 2020 was a flip for Joe Biden. He won it by 6.6. I think that can go up over 7 in 2024. 2016, Clinton lost this by 2.2%. The last time a Democrat won the 2nd District of Nebraska was Obama winning it by 1.3 in 2008. So definitely the the 2nd District of Nebraska has gotten bluer over the last decade, and that's what led to Joe Biden winning it in 2020. So the 2nd District there goes blue, as well as the Maine at large, giving Joe Biden 213 electoral votes. Donald Trump now still at 126 electoral votes. The final likely state on this map is the state of Virginia. It's 13 electoral votes I will be giving to Joe Biden. As you can see in the state of Virginia, Biden 10.1 in 2020. I think he can definitely improve off of that. Hillary Clinton, when she ran it with Tim Kaine, a senator from the state, as a running mate in 2016, Hillary Clinton only won Virginia by 5.3. So definitely very disappointing for them in 2016. But 2020, Joe Biden blew Donald Trump out of the water in Virginia, and his 13 electoral votes will definitely remain blue in 2024. This is a state in which Republicans have not won a statewide election in over a decade. So almost 12 years since the GOP has won a statewide election in Virginia. So it'll be very, very hard for Trump to pull this back. So Joe Biden now leads by 100 electoral votes. I now want to move on to taking a look at the lean states. Now, there was actually a likely state that I forgot, and that it's Iowa, because I do like to classify Iowa a little bit differently. You see these other likely states, they're basically going to be around that 15% margin, at least over 10%. But in Iowa, I do believe this one will be the one that's barely a likely state. In 2020, Trump, of course, won it by 8.1%. 2016, the margin was 9.4. I do think that in Iowa in 2024, he'll hold on to Iowa being likely, but in Ohio, I do think the margin will go down to lean. I do think it can definitely go under 7%, especially with Joe Biden as the incumbent president. And I do think that, Democrats are, doing a little bit better in some of those more rural districts. It's not doing good at all, but, they have been improving in states like Missouri and stuff like that. So for the state of Ohio, 17 electoral votes, I think it will go down to a lean margin for Donald Trump in 2024, especially, considering the fact that Joe Biden's approval in the scenario does stay the same as it is as of right now. So that is really the only lean state on this map as of right now for Donald Trump. For Joe Biden, I do want to go over his lean states now, starting off with Nevada. This was a state that he won by 2.4%. Hillary Clinton won it by the same margin in 2016. I think that Nevada will continue to go blue on this map. Definitely, Nevada is one of the more contested states. It can go red. Has gone red in the recent past. However, it is definitely more Democratic than it is Republican. It's like Florida, but the opposite. Some more lean states on this map. I do have the states of Michigan and Pennsylvania, putting Joe Biden up at 266 electoral votes. I think that these two states will both go blue. Michigan was 2.8% in 2020 here in the Rust Belt. He flipped it back. Pennsylvania 1.2, it will have to go up. I do think it can go up. This, of course, was Joe Biden's birth state. 2016, as you can see, Trump won all three of these states by less than 1%. Wisconsin in 2024, I do think the margin will be a lot closer between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. So it's not going to be in the lean column for Joe Biden. Finally, I have the state of Georgia. It's 16 electoral votes. I have this going for Joe Biden as a likely state, or not as likely, as a lean state here as well. 16 electoral votes. He flipped the state in 2020. It was a pretty historic flip. Last time the Democratic Party won in Georgia before Joe Biden was all the way back in 1992 with the election of Bill Clinton. He even lost it in 1996 to Bob Dole. So Joe Biden won it back in 2020. It was really the only blue state in the South, and it stuck out like a sore thumb. However, it did go blue, plus 0.23% for Joe Biden in 2020. And I think that 2024, this margin can improve, especially if Joe Biden's approval. And we're basing this off of Biden's approval right now. And of course, Joe Biden was more unpopular during November of 2020 than he is as of right now. So this gives Joe Biden 282 electoral votes. I do want to now take a look at the tilt states. So starting off with the tilt states for Donald Trump, Texas, straight off the bat, definitely will go red. There's no doubt in my mind it will go red. It's not going to go blue. The state of Texas is not going to vote for a Democrat. Florida as well. So this immediately adds 30 electoral votes for Donald Trump. He's now 219 electoral votes. Just both of these states. I mean, at this point, Texas, it can be lean. Trump can hold on to a stronger margin in Texas. However, he has not been good for Texas for the GOP. 2020, he only won it by 5.6%. You go back to 2012, the state was, voted for Romney by almost 16%. So, according to trends, it would definitely make a lot of sense if Trump blows the margin even lower and puts it at 2000 or at less than 2%. However, I think that it will still definitely remain red. I don't see it flipping in 2024, even if Joe Biden is very, very popular. But Biden is very popular, or not very popular, but he is considerably popular in Texas. You could say he's popular. He is more popular than both Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, as well as Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, all three of them being Republicans. So Joe Biden's popularity in Texas, I don't think is an issue. I think that, it will take a little bit more time for Texas to flip blue. The last time Texas voted blue, of course, was with the election of Jimmy Carter in 1976. As you can see here, this is the last time that Texas voted for a Democrat. So now the final three states here, I do have them going for Joe Biden. The seats of Wisconsin and North Carolina, which would be Biden's only flip, as well as Arizona. I have all three of these states as tilt states for the incumbent president. In the state of Wisconsin, Biden won with this state, of course, in 2020 by 0.63%. In Arizona, Biden won by 0.3%. In North Carolina, Biden lost by 1.3%. However, in North Carolina, 2016, the margin was a margin of 3.7 for Donald Trump. I think that as the incumbent, Joe Biden can do a little bit better. The last time North Carolina voted blue was in 2008 by 0.3 for Barack Obama. Definitely a pretty weak margin for him there, but he still was able to win it, and that was a pretty surprising win. North Carolina has been, less red compared to Georgia. However, 2020 was a little bit different, as Stacey Abrams and the Democrats have been doing a lot in Georgia trying to flip that state, and they have been for the last couple of decades, and it has definitely succeeded for them here in 2020. But 2024, I think North Carolina will also be able to flip blue. Wisconsin, I believe, will remain blue. I think the margin could go up over 1%, but I don't think it'll go into the lean category. And Arizona, same thing, I think could go up, but I don't think that the margin can get over 2%. So this is my 2024 presidential election prediction between Joe Biden and Donald Trump if Joe Biden's popularity does hold until 2024. So as you can see, Joe Biden 319 electoral votes and Donald Trump 219. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure you join my Discord server if you have not. The link to which is at the very top of the description below. We're a pretty cool mock government on there, so make sure you join that if you have not. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't liked this video. If you enjoyed it, comment down below who you think would win between Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Again, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.